Division is a good thing? Michael Antonio is back. And that's right, I'm going to tell you why division is just what the doctor ordered in America today. I realize we have a lot of division in this country right now, a lot of turmoil. But I'm going to tell you right now, the best prescription is not to let one side decide what we're going to turn into in this country. Okay, that's not the way this is going to work here in America. We have to do it differently, and I'm going to show you how we can. I'm going to build this case, and by the time we're done with this, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. You see, it's easy for people to say, let's just all get along. Okay, this is not a campfire. America's not some campfire, and we're definitely not singing Kumbaya. That never solved anything. We have to get down to the hard questions, and we have to seek solutions. Now, for you scientists out there, just think about what I'm talking about right now. How do you solve problems? Do you simply come up with a hypothesis and then determine at that point, yep, we made up our mind, we know what's right. Anybody who comes up with any other ideas, you're just stupid. We know what we're talking about. We have all the solutions, and you need to just shut up, and we're going to fix this problem without these guys over here because these guys are stupid. I mean, this is what's going on in this country right now. You've got a group of people that are essentially saying, shut up. Okay, they're shadow banning people. They are censoring speech. They're actually removing people from tech platforms because they don't like their ideas. They don't think that those ideas are, not only they don't think they're any good, they think they're dangerous. And what's really dangerous is shutting down other ideas. Things that you may not agree with. We have to hear everything to get the solutions. That's how this works. Now, I'm going to bring it back to something that's near and dear to my heart. I'm going to go straight to the Bible. Some of you may not agree with this, but I'm telling you, right from the mouth of Jesus himself. What did he say in Matthew 10:34? He said, did you think I came to bring peace? Don't think I came to bring peace. I came to bring a sword. Now, I believe it was Luke 12:51 that pretty much repeats what Jesus was saying, only they use the word, instead of a sword, Jesus says division. Doesn't that seem interesting that he's using the word division? Similar to what's going on right now. Now, what does he mean by division? Division doesn't mean that we're going to take up arms and go beat other people up, although we know certain groups of people are doing that right now. That's not the right way to go about this. What Jesus means is that we have to allow for differing opinion. If somebody comes to you and says, look, I know the way, I want you to listen. If that person says, shut up, I don't want to listen to you, you're going to have war. Sometimes you need to have war. Why? Because you have to rightly divide the truth from the lies. Now, there's one group of people in this country who they don't really want to hear truth. Now, they say they have the truth, but they don't really want to hear it because they're not interested in hearing all ideas. They're not. In fact, they always say, oh, this group here that supports this particular person, oh, this person, they're dividers. They're sowing division in this country. They're creating this anger and this resentment. Well, I mean, it's just coming up with different ideas. That's creating anger and resentment on the other side. No, the bottom line is this. If you're creating anger and resentment, maybe it's not the person who's coming up with a different idea that's the problem. Maybe it's you. Maybe you need to actually open up your mind a little bit and explore other possibilities. Now, does that mean that the new ideas are going to work? Maybe they won't, maybe they will. But you know what? This is what America was founded on. The free exchange of ideas. If you are not allowed to kind of throw everything into the arena, again, the scientific method, come up with a hypothesis, and then come up with different experimental sets, different things, controls that allow you to understand better what you're looking at. Guess what? It works better that way. That's what we need to do as Americans. But again, you have a group of people that are saying, nope, we have the truth. You just got to listen to us. And you know what? The other side, they just want to sow division. They just want to tell us that we're wrong, and they have an idea that they say is going to work better, but we're not going to listen to them. We're not going to even think about those things because those people are dangerous. That's not the truth. You know how many times I've heard on TV from the media in the last month? How many times they've said claims that were made by our president, and then they would interject, not proven, or not, no evidence to suggest, or no evidence to show. Actually, there was evidence in many cases, in most cases, yet the media has a narrative. They come up with a narrative and they say, okay, this is what we already know, which they don't, because you have different people with different ideas. An example of that is with this current virus, you have different ideas on how to treat the virus. Well, you have some doctors that are saying, here's a way to do it. And you have other doctors saying, no, here's a way to do it. Then you have some doctors saying, gotta wear a mask. Others say, it's not that necessary. Then you got some doctors saying that, we have to be quarantined for a certain amount of time. The other one says, no. Some say, go to school. Some say, don't go to school. The point is that we don't really know everything yet. But you have the media saying, no, we already know. We know what's right. And there's one particular group of people, none of this stuff has evidence, and we're not going to even allow them to be heard. We're going to shut them down. You see it in social media. They will literally take down videos. They will take down statements, even by board-certified doctors. They'll literally take the information down because, well, no, that's not proven. That's something that is, or they say it has been proven to be false, even though it hasn't been. They will say the most amazingly stupid things in the media, and by the way, government officials will do this. And they'll just shut down one particular side. That, my friends, that's actually the real division, believe it or not. That's the real division. That's what's, even though they'll say, well, you're dividing. No, actually, the division I'm talking about is dividing truth from the lies. And the only way to do that is to exercise all of our brains, to allow everyone to contribute to the thought process. I'll give you another example. Just recently, we saw this with Goodyear Tire Company. They decided in their infinite wisdom to tell their employees, nope, you can't bring MAGA gear to work. You cannot talk about Blue Lives Matter. You can't say All Lives Matter. You can't wear any clothing or have any signs to show those things. Oh, but BLM is okay and LGBTQ is okay, which, by the way, that's political speech. Those are ideologies that are politically driven. Some people don't agree with them, but they are political ideologies, just like you can say MAGA or Blue Lives Matter. You can say those things are political ideologies. But the point is, if you're going to allow one and disallow the other, that is not right. That is a bad thing. So when the president said, we need to boycott this company for doing this. Now, look, he's not mandating a boycott. He's just suggesting, this is what I'm going to do and this is what you should do. It's perfectly within his rights as an American citizen to do that. He can tell Americans, this is what I don't like and you shouldn't like it either. That's fine, because people have their own mind. They can say, no, I think I'm still going to buy tires from these guys. I'm still going to follow them because I support them. That's fine. You have the right to do that as an American. Others, though, would say, wait a minute, that's kind of a double standard. What you're saying is this political speech is okay, but this political speech is not. But they're so insidious, they will even go a step further. They will say, no, that's not political speech. That's part of our lexicon now. This is stuff that all Americans are talking about. This is a just cause. This is social justice. That's not political in any way. That's a bunch of baloney. Of course it's political. Because there are many people in this country, roughly half of America believes that social justice is not justice at all. It's basically special privilege for certain groups of people based on things that are not earned. Now, we know this. So we have to think about these things. We have to be analytical in our minds, and we can't allow people to control what we think. We can't allow them to think that they are intellectually superior to us. Guys, we're smart. We can do this. We're Americans. And for those of us, those of you out there that are watching that are not Americans, look, you're American in your heart. If you just think freely, once you start thinking of freedom, you are an American in your heart. And that's all that matters. That's what you got to do, guys. So there's so many things going on here that I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that remember something. Division simply means dividing the truth from a lie. And we can only do that by allowing all veins of thought. We don't have to accept all veins of thought as truth. We do have to analyze all of them and kind of pick through them and see what works and see what doesn't work. But remember something, freedom is key in this country. In America, we are free to do as we choose. So although some ideas you might think are better, for instance, some people think that socialism is a better idea. Communism, that's a better idea. That's what they say. That's their thought. But you can't impose that on Americans because that violates our freedom. The Constitution clearly enumerates our God-given freedoms, and you're not allowed to violate that. Now, on the same token, if you want to be a communist on your own, if you want to start your little commune somewhere, go ahead and do that. Be my guest. That's part of your freedom, actually, but you can't impose it on the rest of the population. It's just simply not allowed. We have rights. We have freedoms. Isn't it funny how some people say they have rights when they violate other people's rights? They have the right to do something, but really what it is a special privilege and not a right. Because remember something. I got to say this to you guys. A right is only something that everyone shares in. If you get something that you didn't earn on your own and other people can't have that, that's called a special privilege. That's not a right. It's just not. So we have this group of people that are telling others, oh, these guys, their ideas are just not good enough, so we're going to shut their speech down. Because after all, that's dangerous. Remember, you can't scream fire in a crowded theater or you'll kill people. This is the way they think. They're very clever in their terminology and their ideologies, the way they express that. They're very good at fooling people into believing that we got to shut up, that we got to be careful what we say, that we can't express ideas that they don't like. We got to be careful. This is how they make us think. And this all stems from, well, many different people from the past, but I will bring up one in particular. I want you to look him up. His name is Saul Alinsky. Now, Saul Alinsky, he was clever. He was a left-wing radical, and he wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. And it was an outline for radical leftists to use against their opponents, to shut them down and to win dominance over a society. And man, did he do a good job of brainwashing these people into getting this job done, because a lot of you out there, I'm sorry to say, a lot of you out there are actually falling prey to what they are doing. Some of the ideas are incredibly, I can't even believe some of the things that Saul Alinsky was able to foist upon Americans. They're using them today. It's amazing. Just to give you an example, one of the things that he does is he says keep the pressure on. They don't let up. They're like attack dogs. I mean, they're the worst when it comes to that. Okay. So another one is this.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
They are just they decide to pick a target, and remember, they focus on individuals. So he says pick a target, freeze it, personalize it. Remember, personal attacks. There's a side here in this country, they love to personally attack. Why? Because they know it's a good tactic. It makes people that are on the outside looking in second guess that person. Oh, they just assassinated their character. Maybe that person's not such a good person, which means that maybe their ideas are kind of messed up. That person, they kind of blew it there. So, maybe they're not very smart about anything else. Maybe they're just dummies, and we shouldn't listen to them. Character assassination, sadly to say, it works on people who are not analytical and attentive. I want you guys out there to be analytical and attentive. You got to be smarter, guys. You can't let them determine what's going to happen in this country in the future. So if someone begins to insult you or insult someone that you listen to, when you start listening to the ideas of somebody that's maybe coming from the outside, maybe all of your life you've been indoctrinated into a certain way of thinking. All of a sudden somebody new comes along and says, wait a minute, guys, I have a better idea. Why don't you listen to this? All of a sudden they get their character attacked. Something will come up. They'll get insulted. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you do this? Didn't you, weren't you divorced? Didn't your wife leave you because you're a loser? I mean, this is what they will do to people. Didn't you, and I'll get perfect example is our president. Well, didn't you have to file bankruptcy a couple of times? That means you're a failure. Look at you. You can't even run a business. This is what they do. They immediately attack the person's character, their earning ability. They'll come up with an example, and this is what they do. And of course, in this, he also mentions, the polarization. They polarize the person. They make them such an evil person, and they try to compare them to other evil people in the past. You see it with Trump. They try to say, oh, he's like Hitler, or he's like this one or that one. The point is, come on, that Hitler is so overused and ridiculous that it's come to the point where it gets to be a joke, but there's certain people that don't analyze. You guys got to start thinking. You really do. You got to start being more critical of the people that are on the attack sometimes. Be critical of those that will immediately criticize your character or reduce themselves to personal insults. I see it all the time. I see it all the time, and so do you. You know what I'm talking about. So, and of course, what they also do is they want to cut off the support network from that person. So another thing they will do is they will use your family and your friends. They'll go after your family and friends and say, look, they will say, for instance, and I've seen this done on a personal level, they will say, well, even your mother doesn't agree with you on this, or even your brother or your sister, they don't agree. They think you're a total loon when it comes to this idea. So you know what? Or maybe they'll even go to family members and friends of yours, and they will say, do you really want to follow this guy? You know what this guy said about you? You know what he said about you? I heard him say this about you. He doesn't even like you. So they kind of play both sides. They'll go and they will divide people up, divide and conquer. That's one part of division that's not good. There are some divisions that are good and some that are bad. That one's a bad one. When you start trying to divide people and conquer them. Now, it does work as a tactic, but it's evil. It's pure evil, guys. And you shouldn't do it. You should always rest on the truth when you're trying to make an argument and when you're trying to build a future for this country, or no matter what it is, even for yourself. You want to tell the truth to the best of your ability. Look, we may not always know the 100% truth, but we can try. We can try. I don't see it happening in this country right now. It's terrible. But not only do they separate them, they want to take away that sympathy factor too. They don't want anyone to sympathize with their opponent, with a person that has another idea. They want them to think you are so evil and so bad you deserve every bad thing that's coming to you. And you see this every single day in the media. Just recently, Herman Cain, God rest his soul, a wonderful warrior for the conservative movement, he passes away. He was very sick. They say he died from COVID, but you know what? If you remember, he also did have stage 4 cancer. So you know what? He was very sick. He was a high at-risk individual for that particular virus. When that happens, when a virus like that hits you and you're already at risk, bad things can happen, and I'm sorry that it did. But what did, the media? They said very vile things, and they kind of planted seeds of doubt. They said, remember what the headline said when they found out he died. They said, Herman Cain, who attended Trump's rally in Oklahoma, died of coronavirus. Do you notice how they had to add in that little attended Trump's rally? In other words, we were right. He went to the rally and the rally killed him. Yet, of course, they ignore the fact that how many left-wing protesters were shoulder to shoulder during this pandemic, shoulder to shoulder protesting. Yet, no, that's okay. Apparently the virus does know the difference, right? Did you guys know that? The virus knows the difference between those that are conservative and those that are fighting for social justice. Apparently the virus knows. That's one smart virus, man. Maybe we should let that virus be president, right? Probably be a better choice than Biden, I think, at this point. But I'm not going to I don't want to get political. Let's forget about that. So what happens is that they also, this whole concept of personalizing things. Instead of going after corporations, companies, big entities, what they try to do is they try to focus on one particular person. Like, for instance, maybe within a company, the CEO of the company, that's the bad guy. Or another example is if it's a celebrity that said something they didn't like, a conservative celebrity. That person's bad. We got to go after that person. We can't go after the company they work for. None of that stuff is relevant except for the person. Why? When you personalize it, people get more of a connection with that, and so they can say, okay, yeah, that person's evil. Let's stay away from that. That means that everything that person touches from that moment forward is going to be tainted. That's what they're trying to do, and this is what the left does. They try to taint people to try to stop them from having any effectiveness to gain any foothold. And that's what's happening. It's terrible. I can't even believe they're allowed to do it. I can't, and it all comes down to you and me. We have to be smart enough to understand their tactics. Now, look, I don't want to get too deeply into Saul Alinsky. I'll do that in another video, but I'm going to tell you right now, look him up. Look up Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. I'm telling you, everything that he is telling his people to do, you're seeing it today in the Democrat Party. This is what they do. They go on the attack. And they will mercilessly attack. They don't want to sit down at the table and actually discuss different ideas and say, let's come up with some good ideas. Now, look, they're not going to adopt every idea from the opposing side. That's not going to happen. That's why we compromise. All right? That doesn't happen. But let me say one more thing about that. I'll give you another perfect example about that. Many years ago, when Barack Obama was president, when he first became president, the Congress, within, I believe it was a year or two of his presidency, the Congress was taken over by the Democrats. I mean, you had a total power lock by the Democrats at this time. And at the time, if you remember, the Republicans sat down at the table to talk about health care with the president and his panel. And at the time, I don't know if you remember what was said, but at the time, John McCain, who was in the Senate for the Republicans, he was saying that, let's try this idea or that one. He began to express some ideas to President Obama to say, look, here's some things that we might want to explore. Let's give it a shot. Barack Obama looked at him and said, no, we're not going to do that because, you see, elections have consequences. And now you got to sit down in the back of the bus. Barack Obama said, you got to sit in the back of the bus now. It's your turn. And we're in charge. And you don't get to have any ideas. We're going to do it. And elections have consequences. Well, Barack Obama found out later, after he was out of office, that elections do have consequences. And sometimes, when you act that divisively, Mr. Obama, this is what happens. You end up losing everything you worked for. You lost it all. Now, look, I don't have a lot of good things to say about President Bill Clinton. If you remember, he did some pretty bad stuff. But you know what? When he was in the White House, there was one thing he understood. He understood the concept of compromise and getting things done. Sometimes you have to give a little to get a little. And that's the way Bill Clinton generally operated in his presidency. Not always, but a lot. I mean, that's what he did a lot. Especially when he lost Congress 2 years after his first election. He lost Congress, 94. He didn't have it, so he knew that he wasn't going to get anything done if the Congress was Republican. There was nothing he would be able to get done. So he had to say, wait a minute, how am I going to effectively make any changes that are going to be helpful to the American people without actually giving something to Republicans that they want, something that might even help America too. You never know. So that's what he did. He compromised. He triangulated. And sure enough, he got some things done, actually. He did get some things done. He made some mistakes too, as you know. But we have to understand that this country's in a lot of trouble right now. We have to think sober-minded, and we can't allow the emotions of the left wing to control what's happening right now. Now, we know that Donald Trump's doing a good job. We know that he's done incredible things in this country in the nearly 4 years that he's been here in power. Incredible things. We can't stop now. We got to keep it going. So we can't allow them to say, he's dividing America. Look at the division he's sowing. No, the only thing he's doing is he's dividing good ideas from bad ones. He's dividing the good people from the bad people. He's letting America see who's doing it wrong and who's doing it right. I want you to think about that for a minute. Who's the one out looting and rioting and beating people up and bullying people, trying to tell them to shut their mouth? Who's doing it? At every level. You have people in the streets. You have Antifa in the streets beating people up. They've killed some people. You have the tech giants censoring people, kicking them off their platforms, all because they want to shut them up. They don't want to allow other thoughts. And that, my friends, is not a good way to go. We need that kind of division. We need ideas that are divided, that are not the same. And so I'll go back to the concept that Jesus explored. He said, I came to bring division. That's what he said. He didn't come to bring peace. He said that fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws are going to be at odds. Why? Because Jesus came in and he brought the truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth. So what do? I'm going to shut that down. I am not going to listen. I'm just going to do what I want. And that's what they're doing right now. That's what they are doing. So, I think I've talked enough. And I want you to give me your thoughts, your ideas. Do you think that I'm on the right track here? I believe I am. I want you to understand that this is, me expressing my thoughts and my ideas. A viewpoint that you might not have heard before. I don't know. But if you have some different viewpoints that you want to express, that maybe you think can be added to this discussion that would be helpful, please comment. Comment in the comments section. Please like this video. And of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell. And one more thing, go to my website, michaelantonio.biz. I have several things on there that you might be interested in looking at, very interesting things. I do have a store on there, so if you want to buy some stuff, I have some Trump gear, some different things. Please do not hesitate to check that out. I also do have a donation button on there for crypto. You can actually donate cryptocurrency to me. If you go to my website, michaelantonio.biz, you will find that there. A lot of cool stuff there. But like I said, guys, I want to thank you for watching. And again, like the video, subscribe, hit that bell, and I want to hear your suggestions most of all. Tell me, even if you don't agree with me, I want to hear you. I love having substantive debates and discussions. Why? It helps me learn, and it does help you learn. At least I hope it will. So guys, I'm going to talk to you guys later. Love you all. Remember that. Ciao, everybody.